Sorry, I'm sorry. Let's try it again. And I look scary. It's just lighting. Sorry, I've been neglecting y'all. I have been so busy. Let me not put the phone down while I open up my. Let me put the phone down before I open up my candy cane. Okay, we're back now. I want to talk about these accusations that are going on in Hollywood and not in Hollywood. Do I believe some of them? Yes. I believe some of them. Do I believe all of them? No. All of the accusations? No. And I'm not really going to get into that, like the tea of all of it. I'm really just going to talk about what's going on. The first version of Me Too, the first wave, was when the producer dude and whoever the gay dude is who went overseas and all them, that was the first wave. That was a changing of the guards, or an attempt to change the guard, where it was an attempt to put white women in positions of power in Hollywood. It didn't work. That's why all these horrible movies came out with horrible women leads who can't act and have no talent, and that just didn't work. This wave, I would say the second wave was the Amber Heards, and the when a lot of stuff just got exposed for really what it is. This is the third wave. This is now about, and I'm going to give you some, talk about this. This is why, even as a woman, nobody can shame me for not being a promiscuous person. Because this is what it's about. If you're a promiscuous man, you better remember where, when, and how many, and who. If you gave into secular belief systems, if you gave into people should have sex with how many people, as many people, because that's what's normal psychologically, which whatever that means. Just have them all, have 15, have groups, have whatever. You are going to be in trouble. We've already seen women caught up in this, like Lizzo, and we're going to see a lot more women caught up in this, because this is my whole position. This is not my whole position. This is part of it. Once you make, say, somebody tapping somebody's knee tantamount to the crimes of Ted Bundy, you don't have a lot of wiggle room there. Women have been bullied by other women because they didn't handle it correctly. We're going to start seeing a lot of stuff happening to women, because at this point, why not? Do I believe all the things that the people were saying about Lizzo? No. Do I think maybe there was some toxicity? Yeah. Do I think she could be a bully? Yeah. But just because a woman is a bully, that doesn't, like, the whole thing didn't make, this person's preaching about abstinence, but then there's dildos and all this craziness and touching people. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. And references to people not having enough sex, or, well, if you're talking about abstinence, why would you then say people should have more sex? That didn't make any sense. Could it be that Lizzo had served her purpose, which I said years before, that Lizzo was a prop? Lizzo was a prop of the left, and she has now served her purpose. The fat people movement has been exposed for what it is, for the harm that it is. And so, or in Hollywood's taking a different turn, and so goodbye Lizzo. That's really what this is going on now, is Jonathan, whatever his name is, and if you have caused trouble, point blank period, this is the new school way of getting rid of you. is digging into your past and say, well, this person talks in their songs or talked in the break room or whatever, or we just dug it up. There's pictures of him with women on his arms, whatever the case may be. We're going to dig up a bunch of women who may be justifiably miffed, may be just miffed because they're not the missus, may be miffed because it was a stick and run, literally, sexually, and oh, get out my face, you know, you're just a hoe, all that type of stuff. You know, there could be that. So, this is now, and I believe a little bit with Lizzo. Lizzo's time was up. Jonathan, whatever his name was up. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s time was up. This is just a new way of getting rid of you. Or if you cause trouble, like that happened with Chris Brown. And no, I'm not saying the situation between him and Rihanna wasn't real. He did do that. She hit him as well. Obviously, he handled that very poorly, where he could have just kicked her out the car, they're both celebrities. They could have called security or whoever major label or whoever's head of them, and say, he could have got out of the car and said, get her out of my car, and called a different driver for her, and Rihanna could have gone about her business, and Chris Brown could have gone about his business. He handled it very poorly. Nobody should be putting hands on anybody in anger. So, and I'm not going to take away that Rihanna basically went on an apology tour of her own, and it was trying to really save his reputation, but it just didn't work. I never saw Rihanna bash Chris in the way we're seeing now, where we didn't see Rihanna just go out and, oh, he was a horrible guy, he gave off these vibes, and he said things before and I just didn't listen, and, oh, well, there's these other women that, she didn't do that. I'm talking about the accusations where he was allegedly beating up Karrueche and the white woman and all these other things. And even the media, I've been watching a guy and he's right. He covers some of these things. Even the media kind of got tired of the Chris Brown bashing session, or, accuse Chris Brown every November fad. Even the media doesn't really want to pay attention to that anymore. I don't remember if Chris Brown went to jail for that. I mean, he has been shunned. This is my question, and I'm not talking about rape, and I'm not talking about doing stuff to kids. I'm saying like that situation. How long is someone just supposed to be shunned and never make any money ever again? Is that the punishment that you made? Because two people who were 19, we're not talking about married couple, we're not talking about it was in front of children, we're not talking about that. Two people laid hands on each other. The woman started it first. Rihanna admits that. She lashed out first. She flew to stardom, much like Megan Thee Stallion, and there's that Rock Nation connection. And Chris Brown, I mean, to me, he's been punished. Let's not act like he didn't get any, pushback for what he did. Like, what do you want people to do? What more should be done? Let me not say that because the YouTube might think I'm actually suggesting that, but do you just want people drawn and quartered at high noon and, like, what was happening in Japan? Is that what you think people deserve? What do you want? And again, I'm not talking about rape. I'm not talking about doing stuff to kids. I'm talking about two grown... Well, they were adults, but they were still kids. I would like to see the 18-year-olds and the 19-year-olds who are now 30. I'm almost 30. I'm going to be 30 in 2 months. Who were so perfect in all of their kiddie relationships and never said nothing nasty to a woman or a girl, and never said anything hurtful or mean to a guy, and never burned his clothes or never did these things or never heat his car, which, by the way, destroying I want to put this out here, ladies. Destroying someone's personal property is a sign of inter-partner violence, aka domestic violence. If you're destroying someone's personal effects, that can be used against you. Now, if I don't agree that if someone gets mad and punches a wall, that's domestic violence. It's not. A wall isn't personal effects. But, someone's car breaking, Nicki Minaj in her song talking about cutting brake lines in her boyfriend's car. That's a sign of domestic abuse. You're doing it to personal effects, personal property. So why is it, again, okay for women to do all of these things, but a man's, again, a 19-year-old, I think they were both 19, yes, nobody's defending his poor choice, but they were 19. This was not a 30-year-old man in a marriage who was laying hands on her and just knocked her and dragged her out the house. Like, you see these crazy cases, and the kids are begging him to stop, and he's taking out the gun, shooting all of people. Like, that's not this. Let's not make that this. So, and again, two wrongs didn't make a right. Why did she not communicate her needs instead of laying hands on him? Why did she not? We could play devil's advocate. Why didn't she just ask for a different car if she didn't like the discussion or whatever? I think back then it was over some girl in his phone. Okay, he's cheating on her, so the punishment for cheating is physical attack. Well, when we flip the genders on that, that's not pretty. And again, I would give grace to the point of saying you don't know how you would act until you've been cheated on, but we don't extend that grace to both parties, do we? So, I think Chris Brown has been punished enough. I mean, where has he gotten off the hook at? There's a lot of dudes who have not gotten off the hook for what they did. And they can't even deny it, because she went to the police, and her face was beat up, and bruised, and cut. We saw it. What could he say? She did it herself? She's lying. And it's amazing how people will be so quick to say, well, whenever a woman raises her voice, everybody calls her a liar. Nobody did. Nobody said Rihanna was lying. I never heard anybody say Rihanna was lying. Who else could it have been? So, and again, that was a poor choice on his part, but it's also a very poor choice to lay hands on people for cheating, or the thought of cheating, or you're just insecure because you just don't think a guy should. And again, did you communicate that before the relationship started? Again, we're talking about teens. Did you have a conversation? Hey, in this relationship, I really don't like when you, and this is way before social media is like it is now, but like, hey, Chris, I really don't like it when you like other girls' social media pictures, or when you keep their names in your phone. I'd rather you not do that. Was that discussed? Or we don't discuss anything. We just mollywop people and smack them upside the head. I mean, the whole thing was unfortunate. And again, they were children, basically. I view 19-year-olds at my big age as children. Those are children. And you're holding him responsible for stuff. How old is Rihanna's head? She has a baby daddy and 2 kids. She looks happy to me. She doesn't look like her life is destroyed, and she just can't move on, and she's struggling to even get out of bed, and, I don't see that from her. So, she seems very happy with her life and the way it's gone. She's very happy, not being in the spotlight as much, and maybe that's what she learned from that. Because you didn't see her as much in the spotlight after that. You might have seen her beefing with Sierra or whatever, but you did not see her, in the spotlight as much in the same way. And you certainly don't now. but that could be the mother thing. That could be the, she's not a wife, but that could be the, I'm older, moving on in different